We're back on Morning Trade Live. Let's talk cybersecurity stocks. It's been a good year for CrowdStrike and ZScaler shareholders, with each stock up more than 50% over the last 12 months. Palo Alto Networks is positive during that time span, but as you can see on the chart here, it's lagging behind the other heavy hitters in that segment by quite a margin. Let's go inside out on cybersecurity in that segment. Joining us now is Alex Hamerstone, Director at TrustedSec. Thank you so much for joining us today, Alex. What's your take on the cybersecurity space? I mean, it's been pretty hot. You can see it in those charts. Just give us your take on where you see things right now.
I think you only need to watch the news to see that it's going to continue to expand, and not just with a number of breaches, but also seeing a number of kind of new requirements coming out of states and, governments and things like that. And I think it has no sign of slowing down as an industry. But I think what you're going to continue to see happen is really these organizations to consolidate. Companies are really looking for more value. I think gone are the days of old when people would just buy kind of multiple tools and different things. And organizations are looking for that value and outcomes. And companies that are able to provide that are going to really continue to stay ahead.
So on that note, let's talk about Palo Alto, because obviously we've heard about the news acquiring CyberArk. But as we saw on that chart, and I don't know if we can bring it up again, I mean, it is lagging behind the others. Is that got to do with it? Because, the thinking here is that very much this could become a sort of one-stop shop. And I suppose, that's the goal here, to obviously give clients, everything that they need and address all their cybersecurity concerns right now with some consolidation in the space.
So I'm a huge believer in the platformization. I'm a huge believer in kind of the one-stop shop for a lot of reasons. One of which is much easier to, have staff that kind of knows how to use a certain organization's user interfaces and methodologies and things like that. I'm not here as a market expert, but I will say, kind of keeping an eye on things, it's the market doesn't always seem to kind of follow the fundamentals, especially lately. So I don't know about the effect on the short-term market, but I think long-term, you really are going to see, companies that are able to provide that one-stop shop doing much better overall. I really think that's what, organizations are looking for from their service providers.
Yeah, and a lot of the reason why, obviously, cybersecurity in this space has been so hot, and we've certainly seen it as far as an investment theme, is because of this whole thinking that, even with some of the macroeconomic challenges, the geopolitical headwinds as well, that the IT budgets are there. I mean, this is not negotiable. It's not optional as far as trying to prevent risk out there, particularly when you're talking about this huge demand for artificial intelligence. So, when you look across this space, do you believe that is set to continue as far as the spend is there and the demand?
I absolutely do. And I think one of the big drivers is over time, a decade ago or 5 years ago, when we talked about cybersecurity, we talked a lot about breaches and loss of records and things like that. But the conversation has really changed to also include availability. And so when you see these big stories of, very large companies, having their production and systems down, for weeks at a time and costing tens of millions of dollars, it's really impossible to avoid the cybersecurity spending. Organizations, again, are not just focused on breaches. I mean, we're still focused there, but the focus is so much on availability and the drastic effects that loss of availability can have on a company. And they just need to kind of keep up with the cybersecurity to prevent that and lower the risk as much as they can.
Mm-hmm. Great chat, Alex. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got to wrap it up there. That is Alex Hamerstone, Director at TrustedSec. Appreciate your time.